David, it's great to see you. First time caller, long time listener.
Well, thank you for that. Our show has been on the air for 10 years. We're with Radio Free Nashville, and we're happy to have you on.
Listen, I will stalk you wherever you go, David. Wherever you go, I will follow you. Okay. And I will leave little notes outside your door. It's going to be great.
I don't know if you saw the latest episode of South Park.
I did not. I watch one South Park like every few months, and it fills me up so much that I can't even watch another one for 3 months. It's a great show.
So in the
what was it about? Tell me about it.
So they're saying that woke is dead, and now you can say whatever the heck you want. And they went against Trump, against all kinds of people that they usually make fun of everyone, but now it was like free for all because they feel that there's no filter, no respect. Everybody can just do whatever they want. And Cartman was depressed and he wanted to kill himself because he couldn't be himself anymore.
Because everybody was doing what he does. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
So tell us about your background. You live in LA, or where do you live at?
I live in LA. I was born in New York. And I was raised Orthodox Jewish, not religious now. But when I saw the world's reaction to October 7th, it made me realize that as I got to fight for my family, I got to fight for the survival of my family. It's not a question anymore. The stakes are high. The lies are the same lies from 80 years ago, the same lies from 250 years ago, the same lies from basically it's just a repeated this year's anti-Semitism. But the difference between this time is that the Jews have a country and an army, and they're strong. And that's why they're trying to take down the Jews' country and army, because they don't want the Jews to be weak. And I am not strong, so I'm writing songs. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, and for audience, your name is Ephie Lowinger. You describe yourself as musician, comic, Zionist, and you have stuff on Spotify, Apple, and I found you on Instagram. But in our show, we've done a series on the rise of anti-Semitism. We've done a series on ancient anti-Semitism. We've been talking about Zionism from a religious perspective, from a pacifist perspective, but never done it through comedy. How is the atmosphere in LA at this time? Because what you get from the Jon Stewarts, and I follow a lot of very progressive Jews like Katie Halper and Aaron Mate, they say pretty much that any Jew who has any type of connection with the Holy Land or has any type of desire to claim that there's still some victimhood happening or some type of persecution going on, that they're just crybabies and that they need to get over their privilege and their nonsense.
Because the 10% of Jews forever, 10% of Jews voted for the Nazis. It's a true thing. 10% of Jews. 10% of Jews were responsible for the rise of communism in Russia that ended up putting away the Jews, all the Jews that wanted to follow Judaism into Siberia. So it's always been like that. You can go back biblically. And you had the Jews who were fighting the leaving of Egypt. They wanted to stay slaves, 10%. Always 10% of Jews are the biggest anti-Semites, because what people don't understand about anti-Semitism is it's a disease. Anybody can get it, And with Jews, historically, because specifically over the last 2,000 years, we've developed two major desires. One is to survive, and the second is to be accepted. To most Jews, survival is more important. To 10% of Jews, being accepted is more important even than their own survival. And those Jews have historically sold their brothers out because they think that if they sell their brothers out, then they'll be accepted by the rest of the world. And then they find out that that's not true, because when the world has anti-Semitism as a disease, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter.
So I want to expand people's terminology, because anti-Semitism, just like Zionism, has become a dirty word. and they use it they redefine it and they use it against Jews
Anti-Semites
themselves.
really hate being called anti-Semitic.
So when the Nazis were attacking the Jews is because they were too Oriental, they were too foreign, and now Jews are being told that they're too Germanic.
Yeah,
and,
well, I mean, even more
Middle
so.
Eastern enough.
Even more so, the Nazis said they weren't white enough. Not only weren't white enough, they were the biggest threat to the Aryan bloodline. Meaning, as far as Nazis were concerned, Jews were less white than blacks were. That's how not white we were. That was why we were hated. Even though our skin was white, we were so not white that we were the biggest threat to their whitehood. And now, somehow, it's the opposite. Whatever the world hates, they blame it on the Jews.
Okay. So what would you say to people that say, you know, I don't have a problem with Jews, but I have a problem with the Jewish state and the way they've gone about doing things in the last 60 years? How would you
in the last, let's see, it says like almost the entirety of the time that it's been around.
Let's say, you know, the 67 borders are okay, but everything else after that
if the 67 borders were okay, then why did Egypt attack? Why did Syria attack? Clearly they weren't. The War of 67 happened because they didn't like the 67 borders either. And all the same anti-Zionists were saying, no, we're not anti-Semitic. We just don't think that Israel should have a state. So they attacked. And half the world was like, yeah, screw Israel. And Israel defended itself again. And then the people who lost and the people who want the Jews dead, they don't like that. And by the way, I totally am empathetic. If I wanted somebody dead, I also wouldn't be happy if they weren't dead. And I would also blame it on them. I would say, it's your fault. Everything's your fault. We don't want to say that if we don't kill you, if we don't try to kill you, everything will be at peace, because that's the obvious truth. But we don't want to say that. So we're going to say, no, it's your fault that we attacked you and you won. And it's just silliness. But what you said before, two things you said. One is about comedy being used to battle anti-Semitism, and two, about how the word anti-Semite has become a dirty word. The first song I did, the first comedy song, the first time I used puppets, the first song I did was called Anti-Semite. And the very first line was, if over the last few months you got sick of being called an anti-Semite, well, guess what? You're an anti-Semite. That's it. That's simple. Man, the amount of hate that the anti-Semites specifically give, like I said something, I just said, if everyone's calling you an anti-Semite, you're probably an anti-Semite. That's it. Man, they say, I'm not anti, what are you talking about? You effing Jews call everyone an anti-Semite, which is just funny.
So have you seen the latest thing? So a couple of years back, Steve Bannon said that it was a proud thing to carry on your lapel to be called an anti-Semite. Now, one of the guys from Fox News was saying that it's a proud thing to be called a Nazi, and that the more they call you a Nazi, the more you should be proud of being a Nazi. What happened in the last 8 years that has made it where both the right and the left are so obsessed with the Jews and proud of being anti-Semitic? Now it's to the point where it's even a compliment.
It's very simple. If the government got up and said, like Iran says, like Afghanistan says, that it is completely legal to have sexual relations with 10-year-olds, there will be millions of people who come out and say, no, having sex with 10-year-olds is great. Because that's what happens when you start making something that's awful permissible. And that's what they did. They slowly started by calling other people Nazis, which I always thought was terrible. I don't care if you like Trump or Obama. Neither of them are Nazis. Understand what a Nazi is. And obviously, they're really pushing it further, but accusing Elon Musk of being a Nazi because he made a hand thing. And then they just keep saying, this person's a Nazi, that person's a Nazi. No, that's done specifically to undermine what being a Nazi is. Just like accusing Israel of genocide is done to minimize the Holocaust. You take the original genocide, and now you say, oh, Israel, this thing that you're doing, where you're clearly warning everybody before you attack, and you're clearly giving people polio vaccines, and you're doing all these obvious things to protect the people. If we accuse you of genocide, Then we're saying that the Holocaust is okay. Nazism is okay. And when that starts happening, all the little Nazis, they look up, they're like, it's safe to come out now. They come out, and now they like, I'm a Nazi. Not just am I a Nazi, I'm proud of it. And they repeat it again and again, and the other Nazis say, oh, you're proud of being a Nazi? I'm also proud of being, because they're already Nazis, just like there are already pedophiles who don't do that stuff, and good for them. You know, like I can never judge somebody who has terrible, terrible desires, and if they don't do it, good. But if people started to make it permissible, all these people would come out of the woodwork, you know, and even though obviously they know it's still a terrible thing to do, but they're allowed to now. So I think that's all it is. Every time you make anti-Semitism permissible, half the world, around 52%, will come out as anti-Semitic, proudly.
And what about legitimate criticism of war tactics or leadership
Sure.
that it is
Sure,
hawkish?
tell me. I haven't heard any. It's a crazy thing. I get 20 death threats a day. Nah, 20 death threats a week. Let me be fair. I was exaggerating. People tell me Israel this, and they all say, "How come you can't criticize Israel?" I said, "Okay, criticize Israel. Give me one thing that Israel does that you don't think they should be doing, and tell me what they should be doing instead." That's it.
Okay.
I never hear it. I never hear them say, "Oh, you know what? Israel. Do you want to say Israel should let more aid into Gaza?" I'll tell you, there are 95 tons of aid in Gaza the UN hasn't given yet. Israel can't give more aid to Gaza. Israel doesn't win if Gazans starve. Only Hamas wins. Israel has no motivation to starve Gazans. Only Hamas does. But I'm all for it. You're right. More aid. More aid's great. Tell me, what else? You know, I'm waiting. Oh, Israel shouldn't have killed all those people. What should they have done? You are the prime minister of Israel now. What should they have done on October 8th? And the only answer that I heard was they should have only killed the Hamas terrorists. And I said, how? They said, oh, Israel has the technology. Technology for what? For magic like personal seeking missiles, DNA seeking missiles? They don't. Nobody does. So I'm all open for criticism of Israel. Tell me what it is. Tell me what the criticism is. If the criticism is that Israel's are murderers and they're killing babies, then stop it. Stop it. Bring me evidence of something. Give me something you want them to do instead. And then we can have a conversation. But if there's no evidence and there's no what they should do, then you don't have a criticism of Israel. You just hate Israel because you hate Jews. That's the difference. You make a good point. That's exactly how you know. If somebody who claims to hate Israel has actual criticism of Israel with evidence and a solution that still allows for the happiness and independence of Israel as a state, then tell me.
So do you think that it could be possible that Netanyahu could be dragging the war out as long as possible so he can stay in power?
I mean, if the hostages were given back and Hamas stepped down out of power and Bibi still was keeping the war over, yeah, but that wouldn't happen. From the beginning, we had to get the hostages back and Hamas surrender. Neither of those things have happened. So I don't see how Netanyahu is dragging the war on. And Hamas was the one who refused the last what's the name, not to mention, in the meantime, Hezbollah. In the meantime, the Druze in Syria that the world ignored and Israel went to save while they're fighting other wars. You know, Bibi doesn't want this war because only a crazy person wants this war. Israel is exhausted. Israel is economically hurting. This is not good for Israel to fight a long war. Israel is not like the American military complex that can feed itself financially with war. Israel's too small for that. It can't feed itself financially through war. It needs to borrow money for war. It loses money when it fights a war. It does it when it has to, and it has to because it's surrounded by people who want to kill it. When that stops, then yeah, you could say Bibi's extending the war. But first we have to get Hamas out of power and the hostages back. Then if he's still at war in Gaza, 100% he's extending it. But that didn't happen.
what would you say to people that feel that the U.S. should not pay for the war against Gaza?
I would tell you that the U.S. doesn't do anything to be nice. And I say this as a compliment to the U.S. They're running a government. Their job is to the American people. If they're not, if the fact that they are supporting their allies, the only democracy, the only American-style democracy in the Middle East, the biggest funder of technology back to America, America's golden dome now, that is protected now the way Israel's protected, because Israel and America work together on the Iron Dome. Israel has saved $100 billion a year for America in military research. America doesn't give Israel things. It's a bartering system. It's an exchange system. That's what allies do. That's why allies support each other. America, no, even Obama, who hated Israel, still financially supported Israel, because he wasn't gonna, probably, I don't know, this last part I don't know, I'm just guessing, he wasn't gonna, and then he sat in the president's seat and they explained to him what goes on in the Middle East and what happens if Israel falls. And he's like, oh, I have to. And that really pissed him off even more when he realized, I have to support Israel. And America needs the Middle East. They need the Middle East for a lot of reasons. So that's why America's funding.
Changing gears, have you ever been boycotted or booed at a comedy event?
Yeah, I've had like I advertise, and I've had people come and they actually like they do the right thing. I say the right thing meaning the smart thing. I've had people come and boo and heckle. That's the stupid thing, because I've had people come to a show that I expected to be nobody at. It was just a little fire up, and there were like 80 people there, and I was shocked, because I thought there'd be 5 people there. It was just a little bar, and they were like seriously laughing at, and I give them credit for this. They were seriously laughing at everybody. And then I got up and like everything so my entire bit was dead, and I was like I'm like, whatever, because as a comic, whatever, good shows, bad shows, it's all the same thing. But and also the fact that I knew that I got that kind of attention, like I was like, okay, even bad attention is attention. I don't need the laughter or the claps. It was kind of a validation. But that was a really, I don't want to give advice to anybody but the best thing is, if you want to, let's say, if you're pro-Palestinians and you want to screw over Jerry Seinfeld, don't do what they did, which is come and protest, because number one, Jerry Seinfeld's going to wipe the floor with you. Number two, you look stupid. You look like an idiot. That you paid to go see someone's show so you can say free Palestine. But if you get thousands of people to buy out the entire show and sit there completely silent for the entire show, he would, again, Jerry Seinfeld would also probably say, even though it's a much bigger show, obviously, he would also be like, whatever, but that would be, but all this is whatever,
So let's do a little controversial banter between you and I. Let's say that a Black Hebrew Israelite was there in the audience.
Who?
Black Hebrew Israelite. I don't know if you've seen those guys in the corner, and he starts like, you're a white devil, you're a child of the devil. How would you respond to a heckler who threw those stuff out?
I would say, if I am a child of the devil, are you sure you know what I can do? I am not the favorite child of the devil, because I went into comedy. He didn't like that. But did I say the F curse again? I'm sorry.
It's okay. We might not be able to air this anyway, so we're gonna put it on YouTube. Sounds good.
Yeah, no, I figured right away. I'm like, we can't talk about Israel for a progressive state. Yeah, so that's what I would do. Eventually you get hecklers. Like what you just said. I've been called worse. The thing about a heckler, if you're in a club with a bouncer, you just got to deal with them for a minute. and that's easy because you can have fun with it. If you're not in a club with a bouncer, then it gets a little more complicated because you know that this person's gonna be here. I curse a lot.
It's okay.
And it's okay. This guy's gonna be here for a long time, and you're not gonna be here for the rest of your set. So you have to do it in a way that gives the heckler validation, but also makes them real. You know, when you're in a conversation and you say to the person like, okay, well, have a great rest of your day. That's when you see, if they don't hang up, you're like, oh, God, now I got to figure out something else, right? So that's the first thing with the heckler. You do something like that. Then you go, oh, we had an exchange. You did something, I did something. And then if they keep going, then you're like, okay, now you're going to get a little rough with them. But you want to get rough with them in a way that's still going to make them feel like they're part of the show, you know? And if they still don't do it, then you do it in a way that either is going to make them say, cry uncle, or you make them part of the show and you enjoy it. It really depends on you have to read the situation. You have to read if there's a bouncer. If there's a bouncer, you would more want to like come down hard on them. If there's not a bouncer, you really want to make them part of the show. Have them like make the show more fun. Make them feel like, oh, that's great. And say like, oh no, can you do me a favor? That was great. Now, can I just finish like the rest of my set, alone? Or something like that. Just try to be nice. See what happens. And yeah, that's the thing. It's so a anti-Semitic heckler would be a lot harder for me to not lose my cool. Like a black Israelite, I'd be a lot calmer with than a pro-Palestinian. Who's like pissing on Israel. A black Israelite just says, I love Israel, but I think that you're the devil and I belong there. Okay, so we both love Israel, whatever,
So, but let's do a role play. Let's say that I'm just someone who's uneducated about a lot of things, and
Wait a minute. If we're gonna do a role play, can we change first?
What do you
Into something more comfortable?
Sure.
Okay, go on.
So let's say that I'm like, you are a paid propagandist for Israel. You know, there are just a bunch of pedophiles. You know, they're the ones that were blackmailing all the politicians through Epstein.
Wait a minute. How many of these you're going to say?
That's where I'm at. Be real and come clean that Judaism supports pedophilia and that you guys are controlling the world.
Because it's so ridiculous. The things they're saying are so ridiculous that it's just you have to you yes and them, you improv them, because when you yes and them, they have nothing to come back with, I just said worse than what you said about myself. Everybody knows it's ridiculous because I made it so ridiculous, but you can't come back and argue with it. It's like,
have you noticed that during the QAnon, it was almost like, in the 80s, they had that satanic panic. They were saying that kids were being tortured and ritual abuse and stuff like that. QAnon was like that. They were saying that the Democrats were drinking the blood and all this stuff.
I think there's a connection. I think the left is trying to mimic the most insane parts of the right. Instead of just saying, how can we change? Because maybe people didn't like us. They're saying, oh, the Republicans must have won because of QAnon, which is crazy because the opposite is true. Biden won in 2020 because of QAnon, right? Or was helped because of QAnon. And Trump was helped because of the left version of QAnon. When facts stop becoming important, when facts don't matter, people in the middle, the people who don't go on social media, the people who don't scream, those people, they vote with reality. They vote with, they don't care, right, left. When they see one of them that's losing their minds, they will vote for the other one because they don't feel safe. So all of these things, the left did copy it from the right. And the right lost because of it and the left lost because of it. You
Now
know?
they're saying that there was a leak and they found that all the people in 4chan, they were FBI, CIA, and Mossad, and they were the ones pushing the QAnon conspiracy. How would that benefit the deep state to push a conspiracy that has a lot of anti-Semitic ideas in it, and then you go on the other side and they're pushing that too?
Well, honestly, like I told you earlier, anti-Semitism is a disease. Remember, Adolf Hitler wanted to take over the world. As it was, that was a tough proposition that he almost did. If only he wouldn't have wasted not just all the resources, the soldiers, the money on killing Jews and torturing them, but he actually could have used the Jews as soldiers. He could have had the Jews on his side. Albert Einstein, he could have had on his side. You know, he could, if he didn't try to kill Jews, he would have won the war. And any strategic officer in the beginning will tell him, hey, you know, this Jew killing thing, this is not helping your cause. And yet he did it anyway. Anti-Semitism is a disease. Why are they doing it? Because they're infected. And that doesn't mean that, oh, it's not their fault. It's their fault. If you got infected, it's your job to get rid of the infection. Great. You know?
So
it's the same thing with pedophilia, you know? If you have this terrible thing, I'm sorry you have this terrible thing. You still can't do anything about it.
But you said it's not, it is up to them to get cured. So the way that I see anti-Semitism is that it is a logical fallacy because it's jealous disdain. You hate Jews because they're successful, but you think they're filth at the same time.
Nice.
So it's like a weird psychosis. Like
you're 100% right.
It makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense, and even it's when you try to word it, it's just ridiculous. Jews are ruining the economy. You know how many times Jews were kicked out of a country because they're ruining the economy, and the economy tanked the second they left because everyone knows the Jews are good for the economy. You know, this is the nature of it. Yeah, you're 100% right.
What brought about your leaving the Orthodox community?
Honestly, it was just, to me, my version of following my spiritual path, which is going to have a lot in common with Judaism, especially now that I've seen, because after watching the world's response on October 8th, I like you just said, I realized that, oh, there is something special about the Jews, because when all the evil hates you, you must be doing something right? So like, there's something about Judaism, and I've connected more to it, but not in the typical way that religion would say, in the way that I felt, in the way that was right for me. So growing up in a regimented religion was never going to work for me. You know, it was like, pray this time and this time. I'll pray when I feel like it. I'll talk when I have something to say, and I'll say the words that I want to say, not the words that are printed for me. And you know what I mean? Like, so those kind of things. And I think for a lot of people, they don't want that. They want a regimented religion. Most people want a regimented religion. Even Marx's opiate of the masses religion. That's the point. We want to be told what to say, what to do, when to do it, because we want structure in our lives. We don't have to think about things. But, you know, I think 85%, made up number, but approximately based on my experience, want that. And 15% cannot live with that. They just can't live like that. You know? And I was one of those 15%. And I thought it was because I had no connection to Judaism. But I realize now it was just because I didn't find my connection to Judaism. And because I was told that something was the connection to Judaism, oh, there's my face. Because I was told that there was no connection, that was the connection to Judaism, I was thought, oh, so I guess I don't have a connection to Judaism. Because I never looked for my own. But now I'm finding my own.
Where do you get your news from?
My news?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, because it's complicated, because obviously social media is a terrible place. Fox News too conservative, NBC, CNN too liberal. So I found News Nation with Chris Cuomo, and it advertises itself. Its motto is a place for the left and the right to come to get sane. That's it. You know, they'll piss on the right, they'll piss on the left. They you have certain people who are more left leaning, certain people more right leaning, but in the end, they will talk down on people from both sides. They'll talk up. They will have people from both sides to talk about an issue, and I found it's the most balanced news source that I've come across. But even then, listen, do your own research on everything. Do your own research. If you hear somebody saying something, do not accept it as fact, because it's probably not. Too many people are saying too many things, and none of it's fact-checked anymore. So do your own research. And when I say research, this is so important. The number one tool of research, and the only one really that you can trust, common sense. Common sense. You know, follow the money. You know, you say that there are people starving in Gaza. Who benefits from that? How does Israel benefit from Gazan starving? They don't. They get hurt. How does Hamas benefit from Gazan starving? They get the support of the West. There's your answer. It's not complicated. I can give you evidence that backs that up. You know, we can talk about like the pictures of the aid trucks in Gaza that haven't been distributed yet. You know, but common sense is really the king. It doesn't make sense for Israel to weaken its position in a war by starving people. It doesn't make sense. But it makes sense for Hamas to do it. Okay?
What's your opinion on Donald Trump?
My opinion on Donald Trump has been improving. I will start with the bad side first. He has no concept or idea of what he's going to say. That's it. He's definitely a narcissist. He's definitely says things that sometimes are just wacky and out there and have no basis in reality, let alone truth. And that's a problem. That is a problem. He's fixated very strongly on the now and the him, which is a very common narcissistic trait. The now, the me. And like that's what I can see. What I have been seeing more of in the second presidency versus the first is a method to the madness. I realized when he started talking all this craziness about the tariffs, all this craziness about things that are going to be done in the Ukraine, like they talking about how Zelensky is the dictator and all this insanity. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And then he pulls back that, and then he pulls back that, and all of a sudden Zelensky hits. As soon as Putin starts talking about Zelensky, hits Putin with his biggest attack in the war, and Trump's like, I had no idea. I can't believe he did that without my permission. But he didn't chastise him. And I'm like, oh, was this planned? And the tariffs, the economy was in the toilet for 15 minutes. Then he pulls back and boom, you know? I'm like, wait a minute. And then I realized that the throw everything at the wall and then just pull back everything but what you want might be how he's done business his whole life. And that might be why he says all those ridiculous things. Because when you say all those ridiculous things and you don't care what people are going to say about you, then the things that you mean, they won't even know. And he's become this, you don't know when he talks, you have no idea what he's going to do. But all of a sudden in his second presidency, he's starting to make the right steps. And I don't know. I maybe there's a method to his madness. This doesn't mean that he doesn't morally trip up a lot on his way. He does. He does. He's a bit of a bull in a china shop for sure, and he does things that are questionable for sure. Basically the second term Donald Trump is reminding me very much of Winston Churchill. Who also same thing. Churchill was a drunk. Trump is just his personality. Trump doesn't drink because he's already kind of a drunk. But both of them were willing to take the big swings to do the things that other people said were impossible. Everybody told Churchill, we have to make peace with Hitler. And Churchill said, no way. It's not going to happen, because he understood. And the best line, which I believe he said, although I saw Woody Harrelson say it as Churchill in that movie, when everyone was saying we have to make peace with him, and he said, you cannot make peace with a lion when your head is in its mouth. Simple common sense. And that is so that's what I would say. I would say that Trump, anybody who says that Trump is a wonderful, perfect Messiah, stop it. He's one of the most deeply flawed human beings I've ever seen. And anybody who says Trump is a devil and is the worst, stop it. He's done good things. You can argue, was this good, was this bad, was this bad? But this whole Trump's evil, Trump's this, Trump's Hitler, stop it. He's a person with flaws and good traits. That's what he is.
What's your take on the 15-year relationship with Epstein and the whole Epstein scandal?
I think there's no question that there's something weird going on with the files. I think that if there was anything on Trump and Epstein, you forget that Biden had the Epstein files. Kamala Harris had the Epstein files. So if there was anything on Trump and Epstein, Trump wouldn't be president. They wouldn't have held on to that.
I heard that a lot, but there's all kinds of people in his directory, his black book, and there's all kinds of people in the flight logs from all parties, from all countries, from all backgrounds. Could it be that they were afraid to release something that would affect the Republicans in the next election, or the Democrats, or get Israel in trouble?
Well,
because there's so many people compromised.
Well, here's the thing. Number one, is that possible? Sure, anything's possible. But logically, I'd say, first off, if they did that, they wouldn't have done this whole party that we're going to release the files. They wouldn't have done that. I still don't know why they did it. Secondly, there's a court order. There's a hush court order. The judge said you can't release the names, any of the names. So no matter what they release in files, they wouldn't be. Now, you could say, what does Trump care about a judge? And you're right. But the fact of the matter is, there's a judge, the judge from the case, the Epstein case, who put a gag order on any names associated with it, because rightly he said, well, somebody did business with Epstein and now his whole life's going to be over. It's crazy, So that's the judge's gag order. So it doesn't make sense to say that Trump's doing the same thing that the judge said because of nefarious reasons. And also, okay, where's your evidence? Is it everything's possible? But where's your evidence?
Who's your favorite Jewish person and your least favorite one?
Huh. It's an interesting question. Although the first one, the answer is easy. It's easy, maybe a little bit of a cop-out, but my father, 100%.
Is he still an Orthodox Jew?
Huh?
Is your dad still an Orthodox Jew?
My dad is an Orthodox Jew. Yes. My dad and my family let me know when I left religion. They let me know that religion is the most important thing in the world to them, but I am more important. And for that, I gratefulness. I'm just grateful, My least favorite now, there's a lot of competition. I think right now it'd be between Bernie Sanders and Jon Stewart, but I might be forgetting someone.
I would say Alan Dershowitz.
Dershowitz is at least been pro-Israel.
Yeah, but he's a attorney of all the dirtbags that ever existed.
Yeah, but that's necessary. Like we can't have a legal system without that. You know?
It's almost like you're seeking them out kind of thing. But
Well, listen, what I'm saying is I think what your argument is valid. I don't know which side I'd lay on, but if you said the opposite, I devil's advocate the opposite. Who are you going to defend if not the people who need defending most? You know? But I hear what you're saying. And even if Alan Dershowitz was a terrible person, he's not actively trying to kill my family. And considering that my dad is my favorite person, my least favorite person is the guy trying to kill him.
okay, so I went on for an hour and a half with a Reform rabbi who's very conservative politically, and he wouldn't stop calling Bernie Sanders a Nazi and a socialist piece of crap. And I told him, wasn't the state of Israel socialist to begin with? Why come so hard on socialists now?
Yeah, no, I'm not coming down on socialists. You're absolutely right. I'm not. I mean, communism is a different story, and Ben Gurion was very careful to keep communists out of the first Israeli. They were very close, but you're right. There were a lot of communists in the forming of the government, but Gurion didn't let the communists into the governmental party, even though he was a communist or a socialist, you know. But he wouldn't let the communists in, and he didn't take military aid from the communists. They ended up giving military aid to Egypt, and that military aid in the '67 war, those tanks, didn't work. So the difference between getting from the Soviets and not getting from the Soviets, the difference in the Jews winning the '67 war and losing the '67 war. But yeah, you're absolutely right that it was primarily probably socialist. It wasn't until Bibi in the '90s, when he was Treasury Secretary, I believe, where he changed the entire system to a capitalist system. Until then, until the '90s, Israel was a socialist state. You know, not officially, but the way they ran their monetary systems, the way they ran their businesses was very socialist. Yeah,
So
you're right.
So what's the problem with Bernie Sanders being consistent in his democratic socialism?
I have no issue with Bernie Sanders socialism. I have an issue with Bernie Sanders wanting to kill my family. I have an issue with Bernie Sanders wanting to take away the only Jewish state. I have an issue with Bernie Sanders wanting my nephews to be stuck on the battlefield without weapons. I have a problem with Bernie Sanders being a Nazi, not a socialist. The Nazi and socialist didn't get along.
So you said that you can't go around calling people Nazis.
No, you can't go around calling people Nazis unless they're trying to kill Jews. Same way you can't call Babe Ruth you can't call somebody Babe Ruth because they're fat, because that wasn't what Babe Ruth was known for. You can't call somebody Hitler because they're a shrewd intellectual military strategist. No, because that's not Hitler's main trait. Hitler's main trait was killing Jews. Like Babe Ruth hit baseballs, Hitler killed Jews. So if somebody's killing Jews, you can call them a Nazi. That's what the Nazis did.
Have you ever heard of the Greater Israel conspiracy theory?
The what?
Greater Israel conspiracy theory?
I don't know if I have. I don't know it by the title, but tell me, I'll let you know.
So in the 90s, Bibi was going around saying that we need to take out Syria, we need to take out Libya, we need to take out, there's like 5 or 7 countries that he wanted to take out. And in the last 30 years, we've taken most of them out. So they're saying that because of prophecy in the Bible or Christian perspective or whatever, that the Greater Israel is from the Euphrates all the way to the sea, and that Bibi was pushing for that, and the U.S. has lined up bringing that about.
Number one, Bibi is not a biblical guy. Like, I don't think he would care so much about the biblical prophecy. But number two, all of these, the Jews wouldn't have the wall. They wouldn't have the old city of Jerusalem, if not for the fact that they moved in on us in the war of '67, thinking we were going to lose, and then we didn't lose, and we took the opportunity to get that back. We would never have gotten Gaza or the West Bank if not for the fact that we were attacked by Egypt and Jordan, who had it and didn't give it to the Palestinians. But Syria, if they leave us alone, they're untouched. They leave the Jews alone. But they couldn't do that. So we got the Golan back because Syria couldn't leave us alone. If we wanted some of Lebanon, because it has blood, we could, but we don't. You know, we don't even want Gaza. We just want to be left alone. And the proof that we're not looking for a greater Israel is that we don't start these wars. We don't start them. We don't want to fight them. Even though we know that we can win them, we don't want to fight them. But when they're started, we don't stop now. We do. We did a lot of times. They shot rockets. We shot rockets back. Okay, we're even. I don't think we should have done that. You know, it's not. We're not even. You shoot rockets at us, we're gonna make sure you don't shoot rockets at us again because we can't live like this. But we built an Iron Dome. We decided to take our time to build a defense weapon instead of wiping them out. Does that sound like somebody's looking to build a greater Israel?
Were you ever a fan of The Walking Dead, the original show?
No, I was not personally, but that's only because I'm not a big apocalypse guy. I'm not a big zombie guy. I want to watch things that make me happy. TV is supposed to be escapism. Why are people escaping into more misery? I don't understand. People watch horror movies. I'm sorry. It's crazy. The horror's gotten too real. If you're getting your kicks by watching somebody in massive terror getting their nuts sawed off, you are a sick puppy. And if you're listening to true crime podcasts, you got a fetish for murder is what you got. There's no way around that. And the more you listen to it, the more you're gonna get addicted to murder. Judaism is. I tried to explain this even to a religious friend who said that they see Judaism as a religion. I said, no, you don't, because you see Jews who aren't religious as Jewish. Like, well, yeah, part of the religion says that. I said, no, you don't believe that. I said, we're called Jews because we came from Judah. Jews who survived the first temple. Now we got the Ethiopian Beta Jews. They were from Shevet Dan, which is amazing that they came back. But so they're technically wouldn't have been called Jews, but obviously now they're. Because the name Jews came from the tribe of Judah, who the tribe of Benjamin was in Judah, and the Levites, the Levim, who I am one of, didn't have a home. They just entertained and worked to the priesthood. But they stayed, many of them stayed in Judah. So those are all the Jews who were left. And they were called, because they're from the land of Judah, they were called Jews. We're a cultural people, the Jews. We're not a religious people. Judaism is the name of the religion practiced by the Jews, you know? So it's like two separate things. The temple was for the people of all Israel, but eventually the ones that were left were, for the second temple, were just the Jews, were just the tribe of Judah. The second temple wasn't built for religion, it was built for the people of Judah, you know? And
you see
even,
it as a central location for because it was back then in the Roman Empire, it was Judea.
right.
And that was like their capital,
yeah. Judea, exactly. It was called Judea, yeah. The tribe of Judah was from Judea. Yeah.
So the Sanhedrin was the parliament, and the temple was like their White House in a sense.
And you even think about Mecca, the holy city of Mecca for Islam. You think only religious Muslims go there? No, all Muslims go there. You know, having a central place in the land, and also I want to establish that Israel is the land of the Jews, not just now, but now, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, since we got there. It has been the land of the Jews. So the building of Beis Hamikdash would fortify that, you know? And also, again, religion takes many forms, you know? Especially if you're a Jew and you're spiritual, like religion takes many forms. And the temple accommodates all of those forms, you know? It's not like, oh, let me go to the conservative temple or the Reform temple or the Orthodox temple or the Hasidic temple. Let me go to the Beis Hamikdash. Let me go to the temple and let me serve in my way. And there will be all sorts of Jews from all sorts of religious persuasions. And we are all family. We are all brothers and sisters. And that's the beauty of it. It's and includes people who aren't religious at all. Includes atheists. You know? They're atheists, but they're Jews.
When was the last time you went to Israel?
Last time I went to Israel was not so long ago. It was March for one of my nephew's weddings. The time before that was the December. I went December of 23, and then I went March of 24, and I'll be back November of 24.
What makes you stay in the U.S. and not just move it?
It's a good question. It's a good question. My life is here currently, you know, and I'm getting there. You know, like it's not like because America, I'd rather it's much better. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. Mainly, probably the answer is pain in the ass. You know.
How's your career going? How high have you gotten in the comedy world?
Well, I mean, I'm having fun in the comedy world. In the sense of I am really primarily because music. I was putting out albums. I was doing comedy shows, roast battles, whatever, and then I switched gears. The songs I'm doing now are like minute and a half or shorter songs, so they can cycle on Instagram. And therefore they're fighting anti-Semitism. The comedy I'm doing mostly comedy fighting anti-Semitism, and I stopped doing roast battles. The next roast battle I'm doing is for the Black and a Jew podcast, which I'm doing with Reed Clark, who's a great comic and roast battler himself, and we decided, we're talking outside a comedy club, that really the Black and Jewish relationship is so important and it's falling apart, unfortunately, in America. And if we could do a podcast, and we'll end up saying totally offensive things, right? But it's okay. If you do it in a loving environment, that's okay. And the first thing we decided to do is we set up a roast battle. The roast battle is going to be slavery versus the Holocaust. I'm going to be the Holocaust. He's going to be slavery. And we're going to be making jokes, offensive jokes about each other, essentially. And we're going to be doing this really because that's the way you get to, you have to take the most offensive, sensitive things and in a comfortable environment, make fun of each other, you know, in a loving way. And loving, like we're going to talk to each other about the jokes, which you normally don't do in a roast battle. But in this case, we're going to, you know, we're doing it for the first episode of the podcast. So that in itself, those kind of fun things, I adore those new opportunities to come up for me because I've changed the method in which I've done things. Now I've gotten 3,000 more followers on Instagram, and that's great. That wasn't my intention, but that's super. You know, I'm working with puppets, which was, I always loved the Muppet Show and stuff like that, but I never thought I'd work with puppets until I was writing a song, and I was like, thought, oh, that'd be cool. So I bought a puppet and I did it, and then puppets worked into the other videos and music videos that I didn't really do before, that I'm doing now, because it's like bang, 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 short form stuff. It's just a different now. Instead of writing an album, I'm just putting out songs like bang, bang, like short songs going, producing videos. I have a video I'm working on. I have audio recording I'm working on, and I'm working on promotion for the last thing all at the same time. It's just, and everything's going like a bam, 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 like, and it's different. It's different, but with comedy also, it's just about, you know, you got a show here, you're gonna do it. You decide. I sometimes think, oh, maybe I should work on this stuff. Work on this stuff. I'll start with Jew stuff. I'll end with Jew stuff. I'll do stuff in the middle. Sometimes I go to clubs, and by the time I'm done with the Jew stuff, everyone hates me. Sometimes I go to clubs, and they love me. Depends where you go. You don't know. But I'm in a different kind of mindset where I'm not looking to be accepted anymore. You know? I'm not looking to be accepted. This is who I am. I'm fighting for my people. If you're here and you accept me, I love you. If you're here and you don't accept me, okay. You know?
Can you give me one joke on the Holocaust before we head out?
Well, it's gonna be I don't want to ruin the surprise. Well, I won't tell you the joke that he wrote that he sent me. But one of the jokes I wrote for him for the Holocaust, because he wrote jokes for me. So we're working on this together. Is I don't know if he's gonna use it, but it's Jews claim they hate the Holocaust, but Jews hate what everything cost.
There we go.
There we go. I knew you could crack a smile. I was trying to break you all show. You're a stoic, man.
So we're gonna end here. We appreciate you being on the show. We would love to have you in the future where you can tell us about your adventures out in LA. You know, they call it Holly Weird, and there's a lot of kind of, you know, people say that everybody in California is kind of out there, and they have I don't know, it's like a weird thing between privilege and oddity. Is there anything in California about people surviving there? We get reports that it is just homeless people and crazy people out there.
I mean, sure. I mean, there are a lot of homeless people, and I personally am not bothered by it, but they're also not right outside my house. But I believe that homeless people are mentally ill often, but I don't think mental illness is all it's people look at it. People look at mental illness, they get freaked out because people are different. But people are mentally ill have a clarity that the sane don't. The problem is the brain is not equipped to handle that kind of clarity. So when you talk to them, you will get a lot of wisdom. You just have to edit out the crazy. Like, take out the crazy, and everything that's left is very smart. But the people in LA hate the homeless because LA people are not about clarity or truth. LA people are about vision. They're about what will people think of me? What will people think of me? What will people think of me? And then they lose reality because reality doesn't exist in what people think of you. Reality exists way beyond what people think of you. The good news about LA is when you find a good person, you recognize them right away. When you find a genuine person, because they shine like a, like a neon sign that says here, because everybody else is so disingenuous. The other good news about LA is the dickheads are cowards. Like, I walk around with my my Jew shirt, my Sahal, my Israeli IDF shirt, and my Maggid David Bring Them Home pendant I wear. And I get some people coming over and saying, hey, I love that, you know? And I get other people looking down, looking away from me, or looking at me towards disgust. But those people never come up and say anything. So that makes it a little more comfortable in LA, being openly Zionist, knowing that 70% of the people might want to kill you, but they're cowards. They're all cowards.
Thank you for being with us. Very insightful show. I know that we've done a couple of shows. We did one with the Israeli gentleman right after October 7th. And I think there was one, what was the other one that we couldn't air on the radio station? Before you go off the air, though, I gotta tell you, David, you're running a great show. Thank you so much for having me on. Long-time listener, first time caller, very exciting. But you gotta calm down a little bit. You are just too excitable, you know? Not everything you gotta go crazy about. Okay, you finally made me laugh. I know. Finally, that's why I was like, you can't hang up yet. I gotta make you laugh. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Dave.